So what I'll do is, while we're just waiting on everyone to join us so we're not running too far behind time, what I'll do is I'll just tell you a wee bit about all of us. So thanks for joining us for Lee's Cargo Bike webinar tonight. My name's Amy Bissett. I'm one of the project officers at the Active Travel Hub in Ayr. The Ayrshire Women's Cycle Festival is a collaborative project, a partnership between the 3 hubs in Ayrshire. So ourselves in Ayr, the hub in Kilmarnock and the Trinity hub in Irvine. It's normally a festival that we would do physically. There would normally be a venue and led rides and things, but obviously with the situation with COVID that wasn't possible this year, but we didn't want that to stop what we had planned. So all 3 hubs have a common goal of kind of encouraging walking and cycling more for short journeys. So ditching the car where possible and pick up your bike, your walking shoes instead, whether that's for work or commuting, leisure, whatever. When our services are running normally, we offer cycle skills sessions, bike maintenance classes, lead walks, bike rides, general advice for anyone, individuals or businesses that are looking to walk or cycle more. If you want to contact us at all, you can get all the links for all 3 hubs over on the Women's Cycling Festival website. It's at ayrshirewomencyclingfestival.org. So I take this wee chance to point out that over on the website, we've also got some really awesome how-to bike maintenance videos that were created specifically for us for this event. So take some time to check them out if you want. We've also got bike stories that have been written by some inspiring local women that we know, as well as our Building a Bike art project. So definitely worth having a snoop about the whole website. It's jam-packed with stuff out with the webinars. For those who don't know, Lee Craigie is the Active Nation Commissioner for Scotland, which is a role which sees her promoting walking and cycling and physical activity generally across the nation. She's also a director of the Adventure Syndicate, which is a non-profit which tries to inspire people to push their limits by sharing inspirational bike-related adventures. So in this, she's talking to us about what she's been up to recently involving cargo bikes during the COVID-19. And without further ado, I will turn you over and you can start watching that. Enjoy.
Hello, I am Lee Craigie and I'm giving this presentation with 3 hats on, all represented here in the slide for you. I'm the Active Nation Commissioner for Scotland, as you can see, top left. That is about as close to a suit as I'm ever likely to get myself. And I'm also the director of the Adventure Syndicate, who are a collective of women who ride very long distances usually and tell stories about it in an effort to inspire and encourage everybody, but especially women and girls to do the same, challenge themselves on what they think they might be capable of. And then more latterly, I guess, since COVID-19, I have been working as a volunteer cargo bike delivery rider. So all those things are equally important in this presentation that I'm about to give, which is all about cargo bikes. And essentially, I guess, cargo bikes for a fairer, greener, healthier future. And I think it's really easy to forget about the fun that can be had while riding when we're talking about all these social gains. Yes, it's environmentally sustainable. Yes, it promotes social justice when we've got less cars on the road and fuel emissions in our most built up areas are down. And yeah, of course, it's healthier for everybody, especially the cargo bike rider. But when we're selling these ideas to people, I think it's really important that we remember what might be motivating us personally as human beings. And for us, the Adventure Syndicate, for me personally, it's got to be fun. And so this whole story starts in Copenhagen. I was in Copenhagen as the Active Nation Commissioner, looking at how that city works in terms of how the streets function to accommodate cyclists and pedestrians over and above the private vehicle. And when I stepped off the train into Copenhagen city centre, I immediately knew that there was something different about this city. It was quiet, it was calm, it was subtle, people were friendly, nobody was particularly stressed. Yeah, there was buzz, there was movement, but it just felt simple, and human connection felt really possible. And it took me a couple of days of being in the city to realise that it was because there really wasn't that much transport on the roads. There wasn't that much car use on the roads. Cars and vans definitely played second fiddle to bike riders, and all sorts of bike riders. So you can see here in this picture, there's a woman on a cargo bike. And they were everywhere. Cargo bikes were everywhere. Parents taking their kids to school on them, delivery riders, people just doing their grocery shopping. Most people in Copenhagen don't own cars. They make the investment that 2/3 of our households do in Scotland who might buy a car. They buy cargo bikes instead. And as a result, their city is fairer, greener and healthier than any of ours currently. And so when in Copenhagen, I got thinking. This is what happens. I get thinking about, what are the possibilities of cargo bikes? What are the limits of cargo bikes? And I wonder if you could ride a cargo bike a really, really long way and with your mate on the front. So now I've switched to my Adventure Syndicate hat, thinking, I wonder if that's possible, your cargo as your riding companion. And normally thoughts like that, they just die. Because it's a daft idea and you say it out loud and it loses its momentum. But if you say it to somebody like my colleague and co-director of the Adventure Syndicate, Jenny Graham, pictured here in the front of a bullet, and she gives it oxygen to your fire, then suddenly it becomes a thing. So Jenny not only said, that's a brilliant idea, let's do that, let's ride the bikes between Edinburgh and Copenhagen, and let's do it at the darkest, coldest part of the year. So let's do it between the 26th of December and arrive in time for a New Year's party. And so that's what we did. We recruited 2 others, Alice Lemkes and Philippa Batty, and together the 4 of us took this challenge on. But like with every Adventure Syndicate story, there needed to be storytellers alongside us. So we had filmmakers and photographers that came with us to help us tell this story. But it needed to be authentic. It needed to be in a carbon neutral way. So they drove alongside us in an electric van, which had its own challenges. That's a whole other story. But yeah, there was 7 of us in total that made this trip. And just to give you a bit of an idea of what it was all about, I'm going to share this with you. It was 4 women, legal mix, 2 cargo bags, 60s, Edinburgh to Copenhagen over New Year. Boom! We should probably do that better. So, resolution race was... silly. That's what it was. And this is the sort of stuff that greets you when you give somebody an idea that's a little bit out of the ordinary. It's not the way things are done. Cargo bikes are not the way things are done in this country yet. Definitely riding your mate between Edinburgh and Copenhagen is not the way things are done. And so when things haven't been proven, then people have an automatic distrust of them, and that's human nature, and that's fine. But you really have to be pretty sure in your conviction that you want to see something through in order to keep pushing on through all this negativity that you get faced with. And I get this in the Active Nation role as well, trying to transform our towns and cities into places that aren't car dominant, that we are encouraged to walk and cycle places instead. You get a lot of resistance to that. And And there's also an awful lot of resistance to making changes around the way we are impacting on climate change. And so all of these metaphors just felt like they were all bundled up in Resolution Race. And all of this negativity that came with it, it was hard to stay strong because we didn't know if it was going to be possible or not. Yeah, we probably are a little bit mad. It did sound cold and tiring and uncomfortable. We didn't know if it was possible. But like reversing climate change, like introducing a different way to deliver our products and transport our children in our towns and cities, it's not really a reason to not do it, not a reason to try something new that might be better. And so really the only thing that we gave any sort of time to was this question, bottom right: why? Why would we do this? Well, that's the strapline: to promote a fairer, greener, healthier transport alternative, to showcase what cargo bikes can do. And this isn't to say, come on everybody, get a cargo bike and ride your mate 1,000 kilometres. It was more just an event that could alert people to the possibilities of an alternative, more sustainable form of transport. But this is the bit at the bottom. It's about the way we do this, about the way that we share this message. And that's the part. It's because the doing can be lots of fun and it can make you feel good. So when we're trying to, or when I try to encourage people to be more everyday active, to substitute the car for their feet or their wheels every day, I guess that's the part that's worth focusing on. Yes, of course, there's all these social benefits, but it's also really important to focus on that stuff, and that it's not going to be perfect, that you might make some mistakes, or it might not work, or you might get yourself into a situation, but again, not a reason not to try something new. And it turns out that if you do keep conviction, if you rely on each other, if you work collaboratively, cooperatively, if you ignore the naysayers, it's just possible. Not easy. Not easy at all, but possible. And yeah, we made it to Copenhagen 5 minutes to 11 o'clock after all sorts of drama that will be told one day in a long version film. But for now, I think it's really important to reiterate that there were so many things that meant that we might not have started this trip. There are so many ways that it could have gone wrong and we could have failed, but we improvised and we persevered and we relied on each other, and we did make it. And I guess that is the metaphor that we were hoping to be able to use in terms of climate change, and in terms of changing behaviour on an everyday level in our towns and cities. And so that takes me on to what I've been up to lately. I guess, like everybody else, my diary was wiped clean with COVID-19. All the social engagements and Active Nation Commissioner engagements and Adventure Syndicate races that were all planned for this year, gone. So instead, I turned my mind to ways that I might be able to stay local and help my community. And at the end of Resolution Race, we were given the cargo bikes as a thank you by the two companies that provide them for the race. And so we had these things sitting in our downstairs flat in Edinburgh. I'm like, well, we've got 4 strong legs, we've got 2 cargo bikes. Let's go out there and make a difference in our community. And so that's what we started to do. Initially, we went for low-hanging fruit, and we spoke to people like AWCF, who are a zero-waste grocery store on Morrison Street in Edinburgh, and we said, look, we reckon we can help you get your groceries out to people that are self-isolating by cargo bike. We could do this in a carbon neutral way. And they'd never done that before, but they were totally up for it because they shared the same sort of ethos. And so we tried it, and between two of us, we managed to deliver a lot of carrots over the last couple of months. We've been volunteering for AWCF, two of us, 3 days a week. And we've been able to manage, on 2 cargo bikes, we've been able to manage with just 3 hours work each a day and 3 days a week, all of their deliveries. And I think that's really opened up some eyes on the high street to what these bikes might be capable of achieving on their streets. And it's actually been blissful because the roads are so quiet in Edinburgh just now. It's been a real pleasure. So we've been getting our daily exercise by doing this, and at the same time helping people that especially initially, were really struggling to get in a supermarket delivery order, but were self-isolating. And then it morphed some more, because as soon as you start something and you realise what's possible yourself, and the storytelling is a big part of that. So we told that story online in order to get these ideas planted in the minds of other people who might have businesses on the high street that might be looking for alternative ways to trade. And we found a whole community of people who do a fantastic job of picking up supermarket waste and delivering it to homeless hostels across Edinburgh. So these charitable donations come from all across Edinburgh. We had a growing team of volunteer cargo bike riders who turn up at closing time to the supermarkets. They're so generous, the supermarkets, many of them. They give us all sorts of things that aren't even close to their use by date, just out of the goodness of their hearts. But we do get a lot of bread, and the occasional glut of something that's been over-ordered. So this is just this constant challenge, moving stuff around Edinburgh and trying to get it consumed before it goes off. There's so much bread that gets dumped out of every supermarket at the end of each day, and it just feels like such a shame. But what's been fantastic is that everybody's rallied together to make sure that this food gets picked up each night. It gets taken directly to hostels, emergency hostels that have been set up by the City Council and managed fantastically by street work. People without homes have been swept off the streets for this period because, let's face it, COVID-19 has disproportionately affected some of us way more than others. So this is just our little bit to help that whole movement. And so all of this stuff gets delivered either directly to these hostels, or it goes to food banks and gets redistributed that way, or it gets taken to a whole bunch of incredible volunteer chefs across the city who cook it and freeze it or redistribute it to people in need. And it is just this constant moving challenge of getting stuff. Like, you'll turn up at a supermarket, 2 of you on a cargo bike, and there'll be 8 frozen geese. So this was probably our most challenging night, trying to these geese were defrosting as we spoke. So we had about a 24-hour period to find homes for all of these geese across Edinburgh. And it was so tempting just to let them go to waste, but there was something, I mean, we're vegetarian, but but there was something in it for us that just, almost felt like the resolution race challenge again. Oh yeah, we're not sure that we can do this, but that's not the reason to not try. And it turns out as soon as you put your hand up and you ask for a bit of help, communities of people come together to help out. And so we had 8 geese. We popped a message on social media, and the Great Goose giveaway began, and Alice and I buzzed about all over Edinburgh for 24 hours, dropping off geese at people's front doors, ringing the bell and stepping back to remain socially distanced, meeting people in parks and leaving them on the ground or dropping them off onto their bikes. And everybody took these geese home, they cooked them, and they either ate them themselves or they distributed them to people that needed them more than they did. And it's just that thinking on your feet, isn't it? It's just that here we are presented with this challenge. We've got some systems in place. We know that we can rely on the goodwill of other people. Let's put it out there and see what happens and take this leap of faith. But I really don't want to leave you with the idea that this is all some philanthropic, generous, altruistic gesture that we've been making. Yes, we've been donating a lot of our time to the Equal Larder and street work charities to move this stuff around on our newfound love of cargo bikes. But there's been stuff in it for us as well. We've managed to promote the idea that cargo bikes are capable of so much more than anybody might have thought that they were. We have been able to have a focus, have this really lovely focus of being community involved and going out every night and doing something good with the energy that we would normally be spending just going on a introspective ride a long distance instead. So our health has benefited, the health of others has benefited, and I've got a community of people around me that I didn't have before. I've had some real insight into how all these different delivery partners in Edinburgh can all pull together and work together to share resources. And at the end of the day, those things that I believe in passionately about social justice, so getting more cars off the road so that more of us can enjoy clean, quiet streets. We've contributed to people thinking differently about their responsibility in terms of reversing climate change, and we've encouraged other people to be active. I mean, this is my agenda as Active Nation Commissioner, as Director of the Adventure Syndicate, and I suppose that is when you're driven by those things, then volunteering for something becomes something that everybody benefits from, and particularly me. So that's what I've been up to the last couple of months. Soon, with restrictions easing and with our streets changing, pavements becoming wider, parking being taken away, more people understanding the benefits of being outdoors and active and wanting that green shared space. Hopefully this movement, the cargo bike movement and the active travel movement, that's getting more and more prominence, and I really hope that that's going to be able to continue. And yes, it's an awful lot to do with what our local authorities are putting in place on the ground to make it safe and possible, but it's also about the noise that we make, how we say that we're enjoying it, how we make those small sacrifices of convenience to get out there and use bikes and our feet instead of other means. And always at the core of it, we need to be honest about our motivations for things. Being outdoors and active, it makes us feel good, and so does giving back to our communities. So for all of these reasons, this feels like a bit of a no-brainer of a way forward for me and for our towns and our cities. I hope you agree.
Okay. Hope you all enjoyed that. It's pretty interesting to see the different types of cargo bikes. We've actually got a cargo bike at the hub in Ayr. If anybody was really interested and wanted to ever swing by once we're open again, obviously, and have a wee look at it and come and see what it's all about. And actually, Sustrans have got a cargo bike library for the companies and organisations can hire out, come and borrow and have a try of the different cargo bikes. I think someone's actually maybe mentioned that in the chat. My colleague Holly's actually popped a link to the Adventure Syndicate website into the chat as well, if anyone's interested in finding out a wee bit more about the Adventure Syndicate. But apart from that, really, just big thank you to Lee for doing that video for us. I know she's really busy, obviously, and it was really good of her to take the time out to make that video for us. That was a wee exclusive for us tonight. And if you want to tell anyone about it, then please do tell people on social media that you've been along to this talk tonight. And at some point during the week, we'll be able to get the link to let people see it again up onto our website. So hopefully you'll be joining us maybe later in the week for some of the other stuff that we've got on. Tonight, we've actually at 6 o'clock, we're doing a mini film festival, and you'll be able to log on. You can just sort of watch them in your own time. They're live now. We've got different videos by like Leo Wilcox, who does a lot of bike packing and touring, some amazing stuff all over the world. A lady called Karen Dark, who has carried on cycling and become a Paralympic champion despite having become paralysed. And then an artistic cyclist, Viola Brand. That's pretty cool. You can probably recognise her. I did from an advert on the telly. But these are all just short films that you'll be able to go in and drop in and have a look at tonight, sort of from now. And then at 7 o'clock, we've got Emma Holgate, who is coming to talk to us about the bike packing addiction. And it's quite well subscribed, that one. I think it's popular. Emma's talk's fantastic. So if you haven't already signed up for Emma's talk, get yourself over to that now. And then later on tonight, 8:30, we've got a panel of ladies from Ayr Cycling Club just coming to persuade us all that club cycling is not as scary as it seems to be. So hopefully you'll fancy coming along to that as well. There's still time to sign up to those two talks. They're both live talks, and they've got live Q&As at the end. So if you get any questions, you'll be able to speak to the panellists as well at the end, or type your questions in and we'll ask them for you. So after this, we'll send you out a short survey. If you've got 2 minutes, just take a couple of minutes to fill that out for us. That'd be fab, just to get some feedback about the festival and about how we can change it, make it better for next year. Apart from that, I think that's us finished. Hopefully see some of you again later, but if not, enjoy the rest of your evening. Cheerio.